What is going on, my beautiful people? We are back with another one, and I am your boy Anthony, and you are watching or listening or both to the Herrera Health and Wellness Podcast. Welcome back to the new people. Welcome. Uh, we got another one for you today. This one's gonna this one's gonna be geared toward the fellas. This one is for the fellas, all right, fellas. So pay attention, listen. Y'all can resonate with this. Y'all should be able to resonate with this. I was listening to a podcast, Modern Wisdom, hosted by Chris Williamson. Dope podcast. Go check it out. Definitely one of my favorite ones to listen to. He has all different types of guests on it, but he had this guest that went by the name Dry Creek Dewayne. He's this old school country guy, beard, always spitting gems on YouTube and maybe Instagram too. But I know him from YouTube. So, the conversation was basically talking about how the things men deal with, the burdens that men carry within them, all the shit that they harbor inside and just don't let out. I can paraphrase it, but instead I'm just gonna play the recording. I'm gonna play the episode, that part of the episode, so y'all can listen to what he said, and we could talk about that some. All right. So here we go.
10,000 times more times. There's 10,000 times more going on inside the head of a man than you have any idea. He's carrying burdens that you don't have a clue about, and he don't know how to express them, and he don't know what to do about it, and he figures if he puts it out there and communicates it, he's just going to be shot down, called a fool, called weak, so he carries it inside, and you have no clue the burdens and the hell that most men are carrying inside and not even showing you.
Take a minute to let that sink. Let that sink for a minute. There are 10,000 things that a man is holding inside, 10,000 thoughts, 10,000 burdens, 10,000 stresses that a man is harboring, keeping inside, that he does not want to let out, that he is scared to let out because he will be perceived as weak, as soft. And if he tries to express this to his spouse or his partner, she will never understand. She will never get it. And the modern day woman will perceive that as a sign of him being soft or weak. Isn't that unfortunate? That as men, we can't even express ourselves without being looked at as weak or soft. There's been plenty of times in my life, especially now that I'm older, where I wanted to express things, but I felt like I couldn't because I felt like no one would ever understand or resonate or no one they just won't get it, you know? So I held it in. I hold it in. And I felt moments of rage. I felt moments where I just wanted to lash out and just all of these violent and negative thoughts were just flowing through my mind because I just held so much inside, you know? And like I said before, like I was just too scared to let it out. And there's times where there's just certain things to this day where I'm just not willing to let out because I just feel as if my wife or just anyone, they just wouldn't understand, you know? So a lot of that energy is released through physical fitness, through running, through martial arts. And does it help to a certain degree? Yes, it does, of course, but we need to have that person to lean on, that person that we can talk to. Because as men, we hold so much inside. We want to be that strong person. We want to be the strong one in the family. We want to be that person that keeps it all together. Meanwhile, we're cracking inside little by little, and we're like at the brink of our breaking point. But we just fight and we push through and we push through. But how long will that last? Why do we want to do everything? Why do we want to carry the load all the time? Sometimes we just can't do it. Sometimes we just can't go on that way with so much that we keep inside us without letting us out. It's only a matter of time before we explode, before we lash out on the wrong person. We should speak on it. We should let it out. We should talk to someone about it, whether it's your spouse, your friend, your sibling, a therapist. Let that shit out, because especially in today's world where everyone is just full of tension, everyone's tense, everyone is on edge, and there's so many people doing crazy violent shit out there. That could have been a person that held it in and then all of a sudden just broke. It's not only internally that we try to hold things, right? We keep things inside us because we're men. We want to be strong. We want to be the ones that put on that facade that everything is all good, even though we know deep down inside, no, not everything is all good. We want to be that person that keeps our head up and keeps our chest out, and we walk around like shit is sweet when we know deep down inside shit is not sweet. And then to top it all off, as men, we want to do all this external stuff. We want to be the sole providers, or we want to be the breadwinners, right? We want to do all the housework, all the handiwork, whatever. We just try to carry the load. We try to do everything to the point where we're just physically and mentally broken. There's moments in my life where I'm doing so much to the point where I'm just physically and mentally strained the fuck out. Like, I'm burnt out. Sometimes I just want to disconnect and hide under a bed. That's how burnt out and broken I feel sometimes. This is me letting that out. This is me letting you know, as a man, don't be scared to let that shit out. Don't be scared to let someone else, don't be scared to let your spouse carry the load until you recuperate, until you regroup and get your shit together up here. Okay? Don't be scared. Don't be scared of just... There's always going to be someone that's willing to lend you their ear. Regardless of what you think they may think of you, there will always be that person that's willing to lend you their ear. Your parents, your wife, your friends, anyone. Let it out. Don't hold that shit in. I promise you, you will feel so much better. You might even cry. And yes, you can cry. All right? You know the suicide rate among men, between men and women, the suicide rate amongst men is a lot higher than the suicide among women. Now, I'm going to read the rates in 2022, right? The suicide rate among males in 2022 was approximately 4 times higher than the rate among females. Males make up 50% of the population, but nearly 80% of suicides. Ain't that crazy though? You know why, right? Because we harbor so much of that shit inside of us. We want to do so much. We think about all the things that we want to do, accomplish. We want to be the breadwinner. We want to be the sole provider. We want to be the protector. We want to do everything, right? And then we think about all these things, and it overwhelms us to a certain degree, to a certain point where we just can't do it anymore. We can't. We stop even trying. We stop trying to accomplish these things. We stop trying. We stop taking the next step. We stop moving. We stop working out. We just sit there with our thoughts, and they build and they build, and all the stuff we're keeping inside, it builds and builds and builds, and we're not doing anything to release it. We're not moving. We're not talking about it. So that leads to rage. That leads to you doing some stupid shit like hurting someone or hurting yourself. I used to talk a lot of shit about people that committed suicide. Why would you take that weak route? Why would you take that route? Why would you take the easy way out? Why couldn't you face your demons? Why couldn't you face whatever problems you hit? Why couldn't you face whatever problems it is that you had or that you were going through? And as I've gotten older and I've tacked on more and more responsibility and more of this adult shit, right? As I've gotten older, it becomes a lot. It becomes too fucking much. And sometimes we just don't know how to let it out. We don't know how to deal with it. And sometimes we think, if I end it, I won't be anyone's burden, or I won't be a burden to myself. We carry so many of these burdens. I hate to say this, but I've had these thoughts. I've had these ideations where I felt like I just couldn't take it anymore. And I just felt like maybe I never had the thoughts. I had some ideations. I don't really know what the difference is, but yeah, that shit just crosses your mind. That shit crossed my mind. We have to band together as men, as brothers. We have to be able to talk to one another without being judged, without feeling soft. We should be able to have a shoulder to cry on as men. Release the burdens. Let the weight off your shoulders. I want to read this other one, right? Since the 1950s, right, the suicide rate in the United States has been significantly higher among men than women. In the United States, death rates from suicide are highest among those aged 45 to 64 and lowest among young adults aged 15 to 24. Now, in 2023, around 4.5% of men in the United States reported having serious thoughts of suicide in the past year. Although this rate is lower than that of women, men still have a higher rate of suicide death than women. One reason for this may have to do with the method of suicide. Although firearms account for the largest share of suicide deaths among both men and women, firearms account for almost 60% of all suicides among men and just 35% among women. There's so many different ways people attempt suicide, or there's so many different ways that people do commit suicide, right? Suffocation and poisoning are the other most common methods among suicide among women, with the chances of surviving a suicide attempt from these methods being much higher than surviving an attempt by firearm. That's for women. I didn't have to read that part. This like I said, this episode is for the fellas. Fellas, let it out. We need to let that shit out. We need to air it out. Don't bottle that shit up inside. When you're at your breaking point, it might be too late. It might be too late. You might go and do something stupid, like I said before. Talk to someone, fellas. We carry this burden. I know not too many people will understand. But we have to let it out. Okay? Now, as a man, I spend a lot of time on my own, so therefore a lot of thoughts do surface. I think about a lot of different shit. Positive shit, negative shit, violent shit, self-hurting shit, but that's why we have to talk about things. That's why we have to remove these burdens. We have to de-stress. We have to release. Move your body. Exercise. That's why I love moving my body so much. That's why I love working out. That's why I love challenging myself. That's why I love educating myself. That's why I love doing this, because I can let this out, and someone listening can potentially relate. Excuse me, that's not even potentially relate. Okay? Fellas, if you ever need somebody to talk to, hit me up. You can hit me up on Instagram, Herrera Health and Wellness. You can email me, herrerahealthandwellness@gmail.com. I always respond. Please, this is crucial, man. The suicide rates are way too high for us, man. We're stronger than that. We're better than that. We are savages. We are primal savages. We are animals. We all have that fight in us. We all have what it takes to push through and to keep things inside. But we should also have what it takes to let things out, to unwind, to slow down, to take it easy, to let someone else carry the load. It's okay. You will not feel emasculated. You will not feel less of a man if someone else is doing more than you. If your spouse is doing more than you or making more than you, it's okay. You have goals, accomplish them. Just don't overwhelm yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. One thing at a time, one day at a time. Speak up, speak out, let it out. Remove the burdens that you're carrying, fellas. Okay? Thank you for listening. Like I said, reach out. Reach out. I'm telling you, I will respond. All right? This was deep. But remember, like I said, let it out. Remove those burdens. You are loved, you are blessed. Train the body, train the mind. Let it out. Express yourself. Talk about it. All right?